and welcome back to Shapes. We finished level 26 last episode, which basically unlocked free play. Free play is now random shapes will be generated at the hub. They will be required at a certain speed per second to be delivered to the hub, and these shapes will be random from here on out. As we level up, the shapes will get more complicated and more layers to them, with the possibility of unpainted layers, and finally if you get to level 75 or around there, you will have floating layers to deal with. We are going to start this episode working on a Make Anything machine, otherwise known as a MAM, to basically produce this shape without any input from us. So the signal will get sent out from the hub, the factory will recognize the signal, sort itself out, and produce this shape without us touching a thing. So that sounds amazing. But let's take a moment to look at all our hard work here that we took to get to this point. Quite the factory. Some of it got deleted along the way. We are actually going to delete our hard work here. We're going to save this portion of it in the top right, which has our upgrade shapes, but the rest of it can be deleted. So let's go ahead and delete everything. Take a look at some of the tools we have available to us. We have, if we press E, it brings up the wires layer. This is how we can send and receive signals and do the logic for the factory. We have a signal coming off the hub right here that basically sends the shape down the line, tells you the factory what shape we're looking to build. We have some wires we can build. You notice they do connect, so we have to, they do provide us with a second color in case we want to run two different signals next to each other without worrying about them combining. So then we have the crossing as well, so we can cross signals without mixing them up. We have the constant signal. This sends a signal down the line, whatever we can pick whatever we want, including any shape we can come up with. It basically sends that signal down the line, so that'll be good when we need to compare stuff. Then we have some logics functions here. We have a AND gate, which basically compares this side and this side, and if they're both the same, or both true I should say, they will send a signal out the top. Then we have an OR gate, which is basically one side or the other side is true, it'll send a signal out the top. Or if both sides are true, it'll send a signal up the top. Then we have a NOT gate, which is basically just an opposite. So if you send in a true signal, it'll send out a false signal, and vice versa. And then we have the XOR gate. The XOR gate is very similar to an OR gate. If this side is true, it'll send out a true signal. Or if this side is true, it'll send out a true signal. However, if both sides are true, it will send out a false signal. So whereas this OR gate down here will send out, if both of them are true, it'll still send out a true statement. So that's that. Then we have the virtual painter, virtual cutter. So these are all tools we can manipulate the virtual signal with. So if we want to cut the shape in half, we could do so. They'll be useful when we're analyzing it. We have the virtual unstacker, which is a very nice tool. It will send the signal down here so you can see it. So it'll basically unstack the shape. So it'll take this layer, send it off this way. It'll take this layer and send it off this way. You know, I think it only takes the top layer off. Let's see what it says. It virtually extracts the topmost layer. So if there's more than two layers, if there's 3 layers, it'll send the rest of the stack out the side. Then we have the shape analyzer. This basically analyzes the top white quadrant of the shape, and so if we send out a line down here, a line down here, we need to delete this. So there, it's saying the top right quadrant is blue and it is a square. So as we can see, it analyzes the lowest layer, and then we can rotate this shape and analyze this quadrant. Rotate this shape, analyze this quadrant, and rotate it one more time to analyze the last quadrant. That's how we will build our shape layers. And that's the shape analyzer. This is the compare tool. It'll basically compare this side with this side. If they're the same, it'll send out a true signal up the top here. And we have a transistor, which basically, if there's a true signal coming in down here, it'll send whatever signal is this way, it'll send it along its way. If there's no signal coming in, it will not send the signal on. So that's just a quick brief overview. We will learn more about these as we use them. Alright, my plan is to do a MAM that can produce 2 full belts of any given shape. We will actually build it backwards, because every time I build one of these, my exit to the factory always ends up light years away from the hub, and then it takes forever to transport it to the hub. So we will look at building it backwards. So basically the exit to the factory will be like right here, so we can just send it right up to the hub. We're going to build a little shape delivery system up here so that it stores them in storage until it's full and then send them into the hub there. Alright, let's just throw 2 storages down here. This will be kind of where we're aiming to finish up, so we can just deliver the shapes to the hub from there. So the first thing we'll want is a stacker. Remember, we're building this in reverse, so we're going to put down two stackers, enough to do 2 full belts. Make sure this is oriented the right way. So that will be our final stacking. We're going to break each shape into layers. So this one is 2 layers. For the next, I think up to level 50, it's only 2 layer shapes. So we're going to concentrate on doing a 2-layer make anything machine right now. We're going to take each layer and divide it into 4 quadrants. So each quadrant will have a row of machines making just that quadrant, and at the end we will stack them together. So I'm going to try to make it modular, so that way we can just copy machines down for each quadrant, and we'll just have to change the rotation of the shape. And then we'll try to make everything modular, so we can just copy it down. So once we have 1 layer set up, we can copy and just make a second layer nice and easy. So let's concentrate on making the first layer 1, quadrant 1, make a row of machines all the way back to the beginning, so we know what it looks like, and if we're happy with it, we will copy it down. First up, or I should say last up, because we're going to build this backwards, would be a stacking machine. It'll stack the quadrants together. So let's make sure this is going the right way. So we'll just throw it down here. And then we will need, let's see, this will stack it, so we'll need, the shape coming in would need to be painted. So let's put in a painting unit here. I think we're trying to do 2 full belts of it, which might be a mistake, but we're going to lay it out anyway and see how it looks. So we're going to put a second one of these somewhere down here. This is a quad painter, so it will paint, take one row of color and paint 2 shapes out of it, so this is enough for a full belt. Go ahead and move this down here. Alright, one set of these painters can do, this will use 2, 4, 6, 8 per second of paint. So that's why I have 2 of them down, so that we can use a full belt of 16 per second of paint. We can just, wrong button, drag that over, copy that down, so that way the color will get distributed and use up a full belt. These will have to bring in a second row of shapes though. But so like this one will go over here and down to this one, and then we'll have a second row come through here. This is why making 2 full belts is probably not a great idea, but we'll see if we can make it work. So that'll go there, so that means this other one, this has to come up here and go over to here. We're going to hook up the logic to this after we get it all set up. So that's there, so we'll have to figure out how to get a belt of shapes into this one. Like for this instance, this would be squares. We need a full belt of squares coming in here, and a full belt of squares coming in here. So I think we could probably just tunnel it through here. Since we'll have a row of squares coming in here, we could probably just come through here and tunnel it over. I don't know how far these reach. Get the long distance ones and see. So we could just come to here, I don't know if I like that, but got these two belts coming in here. Goes over to the stackers. The only thing we need for this is a mixing setup, so we can paste down our mixing blueprint. That can come, I don't know, somewhere in here. What we're going to have to do is come up with some kind of smart logic system over here, though, that brings in the two colors we need to mix to make here, and we'll have to come up with some logic system that passes the color up to the painter if it's red, green, or blue. Red, green, or blue, the primary colors. So that way it doesn't have to go through the mixer, because otherwise it'll jam up the mixer, and if we only insert one color into the mixer, nothing will come out. So let me work on the logic for this system right here. These belts over here are going to be 2 full belts of each shape, so squares, circles, pinwheels, stars, and I just need 3 belts of color coming in. So we'll have to figure out a logic system to disperse these colors that are coming in and shapes that reads the current shape and sends the correct one down the line. I've come up with this solution. I'm actually going to do a second solution as well and decide which one I like better. But I'm going to go over this one with you first. So this is basically red, green, and blue coming into the Make Anything machine. You could actually make the colors outside of the system and send in all 7 possible colors, but I want the machine to be able to decide on its own what color it should be using and route it appropriately. So I'm only going to bring in the basic colors, red, green, and blue, and let the machine handle the logic behind where those colors go. So we are going to take a quick look at this machine. This is basically, this filter is controlling red, this filter is controlling green, this filter is controlling blue. So basically what it does is if red comes in here and it senses that red is the color being requested, it'll allow it through and send it right up to this line here. Right now it's just going to a trash, but it would go down to our painters. Same thing with green and blue. If it's the requested color, it'll allow it through and come up these tunnels and over to this line here. So I guess we actually have to grab one of these. Actually, that's the wrong one. We need one of these. Okay, so we can take a quick look at the wires layer. Okay, so the reason there's all this room in here is because the wires layer is quite packed. This is just my test color, so right now I'm saying the system is looking for yellow. Let's go ahead and change it, say it's red. So this is my incoming red line. It's going to hit this filter here, which is controlled by this unit here, and it's going to check, okay, this is a compare machine. It's just comparing. I have a constant signal on the right, red, and then the entire green line here is all the requested color that we're looking for. In this case, it's red. So it hits this filter here and it says turn this filter on. Number 1 means basically turn it on. So that allows red to come through here and up to the tunnel. If, for instance, this one is green, controlling the green filter right here, it's saying 0, don't turn this on, because don't allow green through because it's not the requested color. Red is the requested color. So it is sending all of the green out the exit, the reject pile, which actually comes down and goes down to this line here. And then blue is the same thing basically as the other two. So then we get to the secondary colors. So this is basically just a check to see if red, green, and blue is being requested. If it is, it comes up to the painters and does its thing. It doesn't bother with the mixing. Now, the mixing is quite complicated if you want it to handle it on its own, because so red can be used in basically 3 different colors: purple, yellow, or white. So I put little displays here just to represent that, so I could tell what these filters are controlling. So same thing with green. Green can only make cyan, yellow, or white, and blue can only make cyan, purple, or white. There's only 3 possibilities. So let's take a look at the wires layer again. So again, this green line is my incoming line. It's basically the requested color, which right now we're requesting red. Let's go ahead and change this to, say it's requesting yellow. So if you hover, you can see it's requesting yellow. Now it goes to these compare gates here. These compare gates basically say I have constant signals set up that feed the display down here and then the filter here. So it's basically going to this compare line and saying this filter is looking for white. So, but the incoming color is yellow. So it's saying, nope, don't turn this on because the incoming is yellow. This is controlling white. But here's my yellow line. This filter is controlling it if it wants yellow. It's got a 1 here, which means it's turned on. This white wire turns on a signal to this filter here saying, go ahead and let yellow, or let whatever's on this path come through because we are looking for yellow. So this is yellow, so this turns 1, so this allows this filter to go through. But these two are turned off because it's not the requested color, purple and white. So I did a similar thing for the rest of them. This is green, so green can make these 3 colors. Now green is a color that makes yellow, so red and yellow make, red and green make yellow. So this filter is controlling the yellow. It's turned on because the incoming is yellow. This constant signal is yellow, but it's not turning this one on because this is white. And finally, blue down here is basically the same setup. But let's go back to this real quick. So you can see this is the red incoming. This kind of hops around because of the signals. And then this is blue incoming. But then we had to do some crazy belt hopping because I only have 2 sets of painters down here. That's all you need to make all the colors. But so I determined red could always be on the top. So red, if red is used, it always sent on the top. And green, if it's used, is always sent to the bottom. So that's why this comes down and goes through here. This comes down and goes to here. Blue then is the odd one out, so it has to decide where it wants to go. If it's requesting cyan, it's got to go up to the top line because the green line is going to be turned on for cyan. So the green's going to be coming down this one. And then the blue will actually come down the top because red is not being allowed through because it is not a requested color for cyan, as you can see by these 3 choices. Similar with purple, it gets sent to the bottom because red is going to be allowed through. You see it right here. So red will go through here, so that means blue will have to be down to here. And finally white will have to go on a 3rd line because white is in these 2 as well. So that means this line is going to be filled, this line is going to be filled. So blue is going to come down to this line. So that'll allow red and green through to make yellow. And I had to do a quick logic here that basically said this is yellow, only allow yellow through here. If it's not yellow, send it out this way. So that means if cyan or purple come down this line, it'll just go out and go to the exit, which eventually will go to the painters. And then if yellow comes down to here, then there's a final check here. This is the incoming color, which is set to yellow right now. And then this filter is controlling white. So right now this filter is not turned on. It's not allowing anything through because it is not requesting white. So it's sending yellow back up the top here. So yellow will just come back up through and go to the line because that means if yellow made it through here, yellow is the requested color, so it's just going to go back to the thing. And then this will be white. So if white is the requested color, it will allow yellow through. Let's see it in action real quick. Okay, so right now the requested color is yellow. So as you can see, these 2 yellow ones are on. It's allowing green through here, it's allowing red through here. And it's coming down the line, it's saying, okay, this is yellow, you're allowed through because yellow is going to be used in the white. But it's hitting this filter here and it's saying this is only allowed through if it's white. if white is the requested color. It's not, so it's sending it back down the line. So let's go ahead and change this to, I don't know, cyan. So now it's switched over and it's basically said allow green through because it's turned this filter on and this filter on because that is the requested color, cyan. So it takes a minute to clear out the mixture of stuff in here. So then same thing works for purple. You can see it's got the mixed up colors right now. We can put some buffers in here to clear this out faster, but so basically it's going to clear out the colors, and there it goes, it's all purple. And then finally white. It's got to clear out all these colors here. It's allowing blue through, it's allowing red and green through, and it's saying, okay, this color is looking for white. Finally, I'll let the color through. So it's allowing yellow to go through, and it's making the white and going up here. And this eventually would go to the painters up here. So that is kind of a overly complicated setup. I'm going to do a second setup that tries to keep it a little bit simpler and see which one we want to use. Alright, this is solution number 2. It is much simpler and easier to understand. I think I like it better, even though it is not quite as efficient. It uses 4 sets of mixers, whereas this only used 2. But it's much more straightforward and easier to understand, and it'll be easier to troubleshoot when we start operating the MAM and have trouble. But basically I have a red, green, and blue bus coming in the bottom here. Let's go ahead and set them loose. And that just feeds you can see each display. This is a red filter, this is a blue filter. Gotta draw these lines up. Let's call for red right now. So it's going to take a minute to clear out the yellow, but so basically red, green, and blue are coming down the line here. It's going to take a minute to buffer up the system. Once it buffers up, it'll be operating at full speed, so it shouldn't take very long. But these mixers just pull the colors off the belt that they need. You can have see my little display here that shows you what color this is making. So very straightforward, just pulls colors off the bus, makes whatever color it's looking for. And blue comes down here at the end, yellow is the last color, so it gets split both ways. The logistics behind it are much easier to understand. This is the incoming line here. And it just goes up to these compare units. I have this filter set to a constant signal of blue, this one's set to a constant signal of green and red. And I just basically did the same thing all the way down, so each filter is tied to a certain color. So very straightforward, and it just compares the incoming signal to what the signal is that it's making. And like this matches up red and red, so it's letting red through. So you can see there it's letting red through. If we want cyan, we can just grab this. And there you go, it's making cyan. This filter's letting it through. It stopped letting red through because red was turned off. And we can go down to yellow. So it's much easier to understand, which will make it easier to troubleshoot later. Yellow, and let's make sure white works. A lot less wires, a lot less everything, except for mixers. It's got a lot more mixers. And there's white working. So everything's working, much easier to understand. I'm going to delete this mess because it just looks like a spaghetti mess that is hard to understand and troubleshoot, whereas this one is super straightforward. So we're going to go with a simpler solution, even though it uses a lot more buildings. That's going to do it for this episode. Next episode we will work on bringing the shapes in and work on logic for breaking up the requested signal from the hub into shapes that we can use, and then we will work on the logic on how we disperse the shapes into the system. I will also probably go ahead and set up, I'll delete this crazy setup, move this up here, and then we will set up 4 copies of that so that we have 4 quadrants for the layer 1 shape. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.